Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to mourn the loss of a beloved friend. The MINI Clubman is dead. I just don't understand. A mini station wagon, right? With cargo barn doors, and it didn't work? Nobody wants one? Okay, I'll stop the cringe, but what we are standing next to here is a 2024 MINI Clubman John Cooper Works Untold edition. Now, the MINI Clubman is probably, out of every mini model of the modern day in the past 10 to 20 years, is my favorite because it's just so bizarre, and it's a mini wagon. And if you know me, you know that I love wagons, and you know that I love minis, and you know that I love green, and you know I love weird things like cargo barn doors. So of course, I'm going to be a total sucker for the Clubman. And yeah, I understand why they pulled the Clubman off the market, and this is the last model year. They're not going to do another one. While I understand it, I am still very, very sad because the Clubman was always the best combination of practicality, style, quirkiness, and a fun driving experience that any Mini offers. The Countryman is nice and practical and has good room for all of your friends to fit in, but it's not super fun to drive, and it's based on the BMW X1. There's not a lot to differentiate the two of them. Then there's the Mini Hardtop, the current one, which is more fun to drive, yes, but there's no manual transmission option. And it's also hopelessly impractical when it comes to rear seat room in particular. It's a wonder why they bothered putting 4 doors on it and extending it by 2 inches, because there's still no room in the back for people with legs. The Clubman, however, has that perfect balance of quirkiness, practicality, a fun driving experience, and it just looks cool, especially in this model and this special edition. Mini loves their special editions, and to send out the 3rd generation new Minis, the Cooper, the Countryman, and the very last Clubman, they decided to do some special edition versions, each with its own distinctive model. The Countryman got a version called Untamed, which made it look a little bit off-roady and adventure-y. The Cooper hardtop got what's called the Resolute, which had some cool British colors. And I actually drove a Resolute once, and it had a yellow plaid interior, which is really cool. The Clubman, however, got what is called the Untold edition, which Mini touts the Untold edition as basically an appearance package for the exterior, the interior, and it had some nice quality materials on the inside and a bunch of cool little badges and stripes like what you see on the hood that extends all the way to the back. This one is also a John Cooper Works version, which means it has 300 horsepower and it's all-wheel drive. Unfortunately, there is no manual transmission option. There was a manual on the early versions of this Clubman, but later ones past 2019 only got an 8-speed automatic. In terms of changes between a regular Clubman John Cooper Works and the Untold edition, like I said, there are some special decal stripes that are almost not noticeable because they blend into the paint, but they have some cool design patterns on them, not just on the hood, but it extends all the way to the back on the roof as well. And it also has these special gold wheels, which look really cool, really striking, and a bunch of other Untold touches, like this badge thing around the turn signal on the fender, which has, again, the same pattern that you see on the stripes. And there's a bunch of interior touches as well. Also, another thing on the outside, the regular Clubman on the wheel arches and the very bottom of the car is painted in black, basically black plastic cladding. But on the Untold, it's painted in the same sage green as the exterior, and you'll see in a second the interior. This Untold edition is a very cool and very nice way to send out the Clubman. It's very striking, it's beautiful, and I love green cars. And not only is it green on the outside, it's also green on the inside. It's a really cool special edition, and you don't see these ever. There's no mechanical changes on the Untold edition, but it is just a cool appearance package. So let's take a review type tour of this Mini Clubman John Cooper Works Untold edition. We start at the back. Now, the most distinctive characteristic of the Mini Clubman is the cargo barn doors. Now, any normal station wagon would just have a regular tailgate. You press a button or whatever and you pull it open. It's simple and it makes sense and it's nice and practical. And Mini thought, no, let's make it different and special for no reason at all. So they fitted barn doors, as you can see. Why they did this? Well, it's purely just for style and for making it interesting and quirky and weird. That means that it's going to be more expensive to produce. You have to make 2 different doors. You have to fit 2 different wipers to it, and it also hurts your practicality because when you're driving along, you look in your rearview mirror and there's just a section down the middle that you can't see out of. When you think about it, it's pretty dumb, but I actually absolutely love this about the Clubman. It's so ridiculous, it's so stupid. And yes, you can only open the right door first, and you can't close the right door unless the left door is closed. If I do that, it doesn't close. You have to start with the right door and then open the left door, which can be annoying if you have groceries and you need to put them down and not just open the tailgate or wave your foot underneath it or whatever. You have to open 2 different doors. When you look inside, you see a basic cargo area back here. It's nice and practical, more than what you'd get out of a Mini Cooper hardtop, but less than what you'd get out of a Countryman, which is not surprising. Practicality is boring. The whole point of this part of the video is just showing off how weird and crazy these cargo barn doors are. And I absolutely love that. And I think I'm right in saying that this is the last car to have cargo barn doors that isn't like a cargo van or something like that. The last regular standard production vehicle to have cargo barn doors, and it is very sad to see them go, but you can kind of understand why they stopped doing it. We move into the back seat of the Clubman, and here is one very important difference between a Clubman and a 4-door Cooper hardtop. There is air between my shins and the back of the front seat. This front seat is basically put in where a regular person that isn't freakishly tall like me would sit. I'm 6'3". If I sit back, my head definitely touches, that's for sure, but it is not too bad back here. A lot more room than what you'd get out of a Cooper hardtop. Maybe about, and I would say about the same amount of room that you'd get from a Countryman. So it's a little bit cramped back here if you're tall, but most people will be totally, completely, perfectly fine back here. And you look around and what you notice is this interior is in the same sage green as the exterior, and that's another part of the Untold edition. You can also see you've got these turquoise blue leather piping elements around on the seats, turquoise blue stitching, and it's just very nicely done. They look really cool, and it, again, this whole package extends into the interior. Also, you'll see on the corners of the seats in some different places, you'll see what looks like a button, but it's just another little styling element for the Untold package. It's in gold, just like some gold surrounds that you'll see as part of the Untold package dashed about. It's in gold and it has that Untold logo pattern on it, which makes a U shape for Untold, obviously. Up front in the Mini John Cooper Works Clubman, yeah, that's a long name, I'm not gonna repeat it. On the door sills, you'll notice another Untold styling element. These door sills have these covers on them that are painted in gold and have that same special Untold pattern with the U in the center to remind you that you got the cool special edition one. And yes, these door sill covers are also underneath the back doors as well, but they're smaller and not as cool. Let's climb in, close the door. And you notice again, the seats are in sage green and also have this nice textured material in the center, which you don't get in the back seats, and more of this turquoise blue piping and these gold Untold button things. I look forward and I see another Untold logo on the bottom of the steering wheel with that U and the pattern. That's pretty cool. And forward from that, the air vents are also trimmed in that same gold. So everywhere you look from the inside of this Mini, you can tell that you got a special edition, which is cool because special editions are supposed to be special and make you feel special as you drive them. And not one moment are you driving this car looking around and forgetting that you have a special edition Clubman. So yeah, they did that really well. Putting aside all of the Untold design elements and special things, you have the basic MINI Clubman interior. Again, there is no 6-speed manual anymore past 2019. Well, there's no Clubman anymore. Let's be specific. There's no Clubman anymore, and from 2019 to 2024, it was only available with an 8-speed automatic transmission. You can see that there. And it definitely doesn't look like it's pulled straight out of a BMW, which is, it was, I'm joking. If I open this center armrest here, you see a wireless charger for your phone that you adjust for the perfect size, and it holds your phone in place nice and tight, and that's really nice to see. Forward from that, you have control for your infotainment up here, which is a nice infotainment system. Definitely feels its age, definitely isn't as good as current Minis are, but at least it's not a circular screen, which when you have Apple CarPlay, the circular screen with square Apple CarPlay sets off my OCD. So this is a little bit better than that, but it is also clearly an older infotainment system, clearly BMW sourced, and it's really not that special. I'm not going to get into it. But what I do love about it is this ambient light around the outside of the display. Now, you'd think that this is just a standard ambient light, and it is, but it also is multi-purpose. For instance, I adjust the climate temperature and immediately the light changes. Half of it on the left is blue, half is red, and it shows you a little white light that moves around to tell you what temperature you're at relative to cold and hot. That goes same for the fan speed. You get a little white light that rotates around and shows you how much of the fan speed you're using. That is also the same for the radio volume. That changes, you get a little orange light that fills up corresponding to how much of the total volume output you're using. Also, when you're reversing using the parking sensors, it will turn from green to orange to red to tell you how close to whatever you're backing into you are getting. So I love this ambient light, and I love how it's multi-purpose, and it's such a cool little Easter egg, and it's also really useful and helpful, and I love that. And they've taken it out of the modern Minis, which is really upsetting to me, actually. You have a digital gauge cluster, not configurable at all, hopelessly unconfigurable, but it does move with the steering wheel as you adjust it, which is nice. So it's always in the perfect position for you to see. And a little Easter egg with it is at the very top of the tachometer, you have a little checkered flag to tell you that you are all racy and special. And also, a couple other things, you have a glass heads-up display that lifts up when you start the car, and it also is useful for things like changing the radio station, which is nice. And I've always loved Minis and their toggle switches as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about, you got toggle switches down here to turn off your parking sensors or turn them back on again, turn off or on your auto stop start, traction control, and your drive modes, which are green, mid, and sport. Also, you've got some more toggle switches up here for the sunroof and the interior lights. So I love these 3rd generation new Minis because I love the interiors. They feel special, they feel quirky, they're filled with Easter eggs, but they're also nicely decent quality and smartly designed. I could easily find myself at home in a 3rd generation Mini. They just did a really good job on the interiors. The current ones aren't as special. They're a bit more tech focused, which I'm not a big fan of. I honestly like these 3rd generation because they're a little bit more special. So yeah, with that being said, let's have a look at the drivetrain and then take this car for a drive. Okay, here we are at the very front end of the MINI Clubman John Cooper Works All-4 Untold Edition. One thing that is distinctly Mini in the past bunch of years is the fact that these hoods are full clamshell hoods that go all the way down almost to the tires. And on these later ones, because of a federal mandate that doesn't allow headlights or taillights to be on a moving piece of bodywork, they basically just cut around the headlights so that you have holes in the hood, which complicates the production process and it makes it a lot more expensive to produce, I imagine. So they could have just, I don't know, cut around the headlights and make it a traditional hood, but that's not the Mini way. They have to make it weird and interesting. And it definitely looks weird and interesting parked here with the hood open and these floating headlights just sitting there. You look over there and you see a basic looking 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, but because this is the John Cooper Works, it is tuned to produce 300 horsepower. All of that power was sent through an 8-speed automatic after 2019. Before 2019, you could still get a 6-speed manual in the Clubman, But unfortunately, the manual is dead, and so is the Clubman. I'm gonna miss you. All right, here we are driving the car. It's a very long name. I'm just gonna call it car from now on. It's just not fair that not enough people in America want a mini station wagon with rear barn doors with a green interior. It's just so sad and so surprising that nobody wanted that. Oh, but when you shift gears, who knows if it's a real exhaust pop or a simulated one. It's probably simulated, but you can hear it pop between gear shifts, and that makes you feel nice and special, like you're really going at it on the back roads or the rally stage or whatever people do with minis. And I look out the rearview mirror and I see it's divided into 2 different windows, and I'm thinking, why? Oh, that's right, because I'm driving the Clubman. Now the Clubman drives as you'd expect for a Mini. It drives very well, handles really well, ride is quite firm and bouncy, which is what you'd expect. It also has plenty of punch. Wowie, that is a fast Mini. About 300 horsepower, going through an 8-speed automatic to all 4 wheels to propel me straight to my speeding ticket. You would not expect a Mini to move like this, but it does. Sitting in here, it has all the Mini trademarks with its driving experience. It handles super well, doesn't have any body roll or anything. It makes a good sound. It puts a smile on your face, but it's also roomy. I could easily fit 3-4 more people in this car and some groceries and stuff in the back. That's the thing, the Clubman is, in my opinion, the best Mini. The best. Because it offers the best combination of practicality, fun, and quirkiness. And that's what makes Minis special. It drives awesome. It's also enormously practical. It has 6 doors. I mean, that's a lot of doors, people. It's got that going for it. It's got much more room for rear passengers than the 4-door Mini hardtop, which I get why people buy the 4-door Mini hardtop, but if you want a Mini that's more practical, that drives like a Mini, why didn't people go out and buy Clubmans? It doesn't make any sense that the hardtop 4-door outsold the Clubman so much that they decided to pull the Clubman off the market. They thought, yes, I want a Mini Cooper driving experience. Okay, but I want it to be more practical. All right, here's the Clubman. No, 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 I don't want that. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. Well, here's a smaller, less practical version that's based on the regular Mini. Yes, yes, here's my car. Here's my car. I'm just complaining at this point. I am very sad that the Clubman had to be pulled off the market. I can kind of understand why. It does sound like Mini listened to that enthusiast that Doug DeMuro kind of makes fun of, that always wants a brown diesel manual station wagon or whatever. And it sounds like Mini did that with this. It's green on green station wagon with cargo barn doors that's also a Mini. And they made it and nobody bought it. Whoa! But it is such an enjoyable, fun little car to drive. It's fantastic. In terms of daily driver stuff, yeah, the ride is a little bit bouncy, but that comes from the JCW being the more sport-oriented car. So it has to handle really well. It has to be able to take corners. That's the John Cooper Works thing. It has to be a good Canyon Carver car. And to that end, it does all that really well. There's not that much body roll, if at all, when you turn the wheel. It's really tight. And It grips really well, especially with all-wheel drive, which I think on a Clubman is obvious. And that's another thing that the Clubman had that the four-door hardtop doesn't have. So that's another thing for practicality, is that you can drive this in the snow totally fine, no problems at all. You get peace of mind there. So it grips really well and it handles really well. And yeah, the ride, like I said, is a little bit bouncy, a little bit jarring, but it's not horribly uncomfortable or anything. It's not gonna make you hate your life. It's not gonna make you go see your chiropractor or anything. It's not a bad ride. You just expect a Mini to have a little bit of ride bounciness because that's how they achieve their ethos of being a car that handles super well, like I'm not gonna say that cliche because that's their marketing thing. You could drive this car every day and not have any problems. This is just the perfect everyday Mini for somebody like me, at least, who likes wagons. And it's so tragic that they pulled it off the market. I kind of get why, because nobody was buying them, and I can't blame Mini for that. I have to blame American car buyers, and now all the Clubman people are going out and buying Countrymans, which is sad, but it's the reality of it. So with that, I'm gonna end that video there. I hope everyone enjoyed. Like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.